clock. Still falling like Brown. Yeah, I'm headed to the Bucks, then I'm balling like
Well. Take one final look at the girl because it is about to be transformed and completely unrecognisable. Last time we were here at Kinsella's Customs, we were doing the flipped arms in the OG Naughty 40, RIP my poor girl, and now we're back. Matt and the team here are renowned in the industry for insane custom full drive modification, comp trucks, winch trucks, buggies, everything. He's competed, he's won time and time again. He knows his stuff. So of course I was gonna come here. Now, what we have in store for this car in the next week or two is just insane. I cannot wait to take you guys along for the ride. We're gonna head inside, catch up with the boys, show you around, and then we're gonna pull this car in, start measuring everything up, drawing, fabricating, deleting, basically everything that Toyota put under this car, we're putting in the bin. Let's get it done. It's probably time to let you guys know the cat. It's out of the bag. What are we doing? Front end?
Yep, so 3-link front, 4-link rear. Bilstein have given us a bunch of coilovers, so with hydro bumps too.
You guys have probably seen already, we've got some sick 14-inch remote res Bilstein coilovers. We've got the 4-inch stroke hydro bumps.
Yeah, it's gonna be
We're
sick.
Going absolutely balls out. You've probably already seen in the previous episode as well, we've got that custom GU Dwiz housing.
Yep, that's ready to go under too. The Dwiz got it over there on the rack. So
all that under, it's gonna be I'm lost for words. I don't even really know. Then, we're not just here to do the suspension, we're also going one step further, custom bar work, 360.
all the way down. Yep.
Front bar, rear bar, sliders, front and rear scrubbies, the whole shebang. Protect this thing because the body is immaculate, at least for now.
And it's going to stay as a wagon this time.
It's going to stay as a wagon.
Keep it nice.
Exactly right. I think there's something to be said about custom bar work. You can get stuff off the shelf and you know, that's all well and good, but when you have this sort of vision in your mind, sort of like what we're doing with the suspension, you sort of just, you chase it and you want it. Step one is a lot of science. More science than I've ever seen a man do in my life.
Yeah.
We need to roll under this and
take a bunch of measurements.
Take a stack of measurements.
Yeah, well, you said you could count, so
yeah, to 10 at least, so that'll be fine. Let's get under the car and start measuring. I'm excited.
All right, cool.
In. I haven't seen a notepad like this since like year 8 maths, when you're like doing like, here's how to draw a thing. Here's how to.
Immediately, all my reps give them to me.
Nice.
So you never run out.
Yeah, perfect. It's always very exciting when you actually start pulling stuff off a car, especially knowing that it's not going to go back on. So pretty much this entire front diff is going to go in the bin. Well, it's not quite the bin, it's going up to Mitch from Built Not Bought. He's going to use it for a pretty spicy project. But what we're pretty much doing here is you can see the springs are out, the shocks were undone, and we've put the diff all the way on its bumps in the front. And what we're trying to work out is basically clearance for a whole lot of things. Clearance for the 37s. We're looking at pushing the wheel track forward 50mm in the front, how that's going to go with clearing the GU diff and the factory panhard chassis mount. What we're also looking at is there's not a lot of room up either side of the sump. On the driver's side, you've got the shaft, you also have the exhaust. On the passenger side, it's super tight, but we need to fit the upper link for the 3-link in the front there somehow. So basically putting it all the way up on bump gives us a bit of an understanding of where we're going to be able to mount those Bilstein hydro bumps. And it also means we're going to be able to figure out exactly where that upper link needs to be and how we need to route it to avoid all the things that it might otherwise clash with. Massive thanks to Automotive Superstore who are sending me out all new brakes for the new diff front back, new calipers, swivel hub kits, wheel bearing kits and all that stuff. So all this gross stuff can go straight in the bin and we'll get all fresh gear in here. Anyway, job's on.
Came through dripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. True in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is breathing.
Oh yeah.
Love is love.
Where are we up to? Well, as you can see, hover car achieved, the floor is lava, front diff gone, front suspension deleted. Where we're basically at now is pretty much getting it ready to cut every fucking thing out of the front of this car. Radius arm mounts, coil hats, shock mounts, panhard mounts, grind back the chassis, get it ready for all the custom bits and pieces, the coilover towers and that sort of thing. GU steering box, plate it all up, make it super strong. That's exciting. Then we'll move on to the back. Come with me. Over here, the Dwiz housing. So This is obviously that GU Dwiz housing, Aussie made goodness. That's going to be getting rolled under in the near future so that we can start mocking up the brackets, drawing those on CAD, getting everything ready for that 3-link front and the coilovers. This is the wrecking yard. Some bits and pieces we're going to keep. These we'll probably sell to someone that hates themselves. Everything's oil soaked because that one I've said. Down here is Mitch's 80 series Diff, taking that up to Queensland for him soon. The radius arms and stuff, it came out pretty easy. The rear hopefully is the same, and then the job's on, we can start fabricating.
Don't try and make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record,
Roll the doll. Feel the LSD working, that. We're not throwing this in the bin because we need this. But what is gonna happen is basically all the brackets, the lower shock mounts, the spring hat, the trailing arm mounts and all that stuff cut off completely. All for the new stuff to be fabbed on there. We'll brace it up. Very exciting.
I got an up price on y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all. Frozen. H6 all the hate. I won't get involved today. Got lost in the ball.
This car definitely hasn't leaked oil and fuel for the past 30 years, so everything's really clean. 91 octane. Nothing but the finest for this old girl. It's important to remember, kids, that when you're building a 900 horsepower petrol motor, you want to get rid of the only big sub-tank, the only big fuel tank you have in the car, and then not have a solution.
Lucky that I'm innocent. If I didn't have no mogos, I'd be menacing. How about nigga rapping conscious but he ignorant? How you find the hood but still gon' go legitimate? How you fuck a bunch of but they still respect the women? He's the rolling.
Problem number one we're facing is we were going to do a 50mm diff push, basically bring the whole diff location forward 50mm, give us a whole lot more clearance for the traps, the 37s. What we didn't account for is just how huge this Dwiz GU housing is, and as you can see, pushing that forward, the panhard ballast doesn't clear. Even with this in the factory location, it's still not going to clear that panhard bracket. So we're going to have to lock that off and basically remake it from scratch. Instead of doing a 50mm, we thought maybe a 40mm, but now we've got it sitting at 40mm. We're actually thinking at full lock at 37 is probably going to have clearance issues with the body mount. So obviously all this inner guard and skin and stuff, we can delete that and that off, but obviously a body mount up the front we can't do too much with. So what we're thinking is we'll bring it back slightly, probably just push it forward 20mm, give us that little bit of extra clearance. You probably remember when we were fitting these up at Blue Flame on the Naughty 40, we had to gently massage this with a mallet. So bringing it forward 20mm should help us clear that, still give us heaps of space, not foul on that, fit this in where it needs to go. In theory, fingers crossed. As you can see, all these sort of inner guard skirts gone, the coil towers, the coil hat gone, shock tower gone, the panhard mountain brace gone, and that's just the start. We've got to go do the exact same for the back. We're also going to be pulling out the spare, pulling out the sub tank and getting all that stuff stripped down as well. Basically, once you come through a plasma, bulk of the crap out of the way, I think Kev's going to then come through and basically unstitch the rest of these brackets before giving it a final clean up with the grinder. Then we can grind this entire place back and get it ready for fabricating or welding too. Very exciting stuff. It stinks of metal and burnt flesh under here, so I'm going to get out of here and let Lewis finish his job.
So we've just finished drawing all the brackets on the computer to suit Sam's front 3-link. So now we've loaded the files into the plasma and we're just loaded up the sheet. So we're going to cut them all out. Once they're done, the boys will fold them up, weld them out, and then we'll put them on the car. So we've cut all the parts out now. We're just going to clean them up a little bit, get a bit of the slag off, drill out the holes to get a nice true hole for the bolts, and then we'll put them on the car and start packing them up.
Well, progress is, well, it's happening. It's very exciting, but also a little bit terrifying. It's full hover car at the moment. What am I talking about? Well, there's nothing here. There's no Toyota bits of suspension left in the entire car. Shock towers, coil hats, the panhard, the brace, the steering box. It's all been plasmid and grounded off and then nice and smoothed out. Even the radius arm mounts gone. Follow me to the back. Now up the back here, this cross member, didn't need it. So that's going in the bin. Obviously, both the tanks are out, the spares out, the tow bar will be going, and we basically ground back all the trailing arm mounts and that kind of thing back here. And this is going to be getting ready for the 4-link. Matt's drawing that up now. He's got the chassis end done. We've got the diff out there ready to be basically measured up. And we're going to start doing the diff end brackets. Get all the links next week. That's going to be super sick. Very keen to see this thing on coilovers. You're probably wondering how we're going to fit a coilover in the back of a wagon. Well, it's going to involve cutting a massive hole in the floor, bringing the towers into the cab, and it's going to be absolutely sick. Cannot wait. There's still a fair bit more plasma cutting and grinding to do in the back here, so I'm going to get out of the way, let the boys get into it. Yee-hoo. So, update time. Lewis is out there lopping all of the Toyota stuff off the rear diff housing, which has meant Matt could get the last measurements and sort of profiles and bits and pieces he needed to then come in here and finish this. Now, this has been a couple of days of measuring spreadsheets, angles, geometry, science to end up with this. And what we're looking at basically is the SolidWorks drawing of the 4-link rear and the 3-link front. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see basically the next step. So what we've done here is put it all into SolidWorks, you draw it up, make sure it works, design it, put it onto that program, and then send that to the plasma cutter, which we have here in-house at Kinsella Customs. And then we get to start tacking it to the chassis, tacking it to all the diff housings, and pretty much get a boogaloo on from there. What's very exciting about this, and basically doing this all now on my car as a bit of a guinea pig, is that Matt's thinking of offering a 4-link kit and a 3-link kit for you guys at home, like a DIY kit basically. So if you think you might be interested in something like that, drop a comment on this video or go and follow Matt at the Kinsella Customs socials for updates, because I reckon if it all goes Mickey Mouse, you guys can probably do this at home, which is very exciting. I'll be the test guinea pig though, so fingers crossed.
It's like it's pretty much a radius. Makes life easy.
Nice. It's like a fine wine, it's better with age. There's no metal on there pretty much, which is a good sign. Sticks! Just need to be strong, boys, it turns out. Well, Matt and Kev have just finished tacking up this rear housing. What we're looking at is the triangulated 4-link, and it has come together and is looking absolutely sick. I'm really, really excited to see this under the car. What you're looking at here is the lower mount for the links, the upper link mounts. This is obviously the triangulation we're talking about. Big, strong truss. Over here is obviously the other link. Now, this is gonna look absolutely sick under the car, but before we put it under there, we're gonna bring the Dwiz housing over and get that to the same stage as this. Then we're gonna go under the car and tack in all the chassis brackets. And only then can we put these diffs under the car, bolt them up with those gorgeous alloy links and the Heims joints that we're running, make sure it all fits and works and looks good, pull it all back out, and then we weld this all through. I'm like a dog with two tails, very, very excited. This is where everything starts to come together quite quickly. So let's get out of the way, let the Fabbies do their thing.
There you go, one bracket boy.
When we were designing, planning, discussing and budgeting for this project, there was a decision we had to make. That was Bush versus Heim, whether we went all of one or a mix of both. And we have decided on Heim everything. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that, well, these are just sort of, you know, these are the bloody top tier, I guess, option you can go. Bushes do have their place in some vehicles, but we were going to find, I think, the limit of those bushes quite quickly with the suspension that we were going to run in terms of binding, wearing them out, tearing bushes very quickly. Heim joints basically are going to give us unlimited movement. I don't think they're ever going to find the bind point of these in this car, which is very exciting. They're super tough and super staunch as well. There's two different sizes. The back of this car in the 4-link, the lower links are going to be these mega dogs and the uppers are going to be the small dogs. In the front, all the Heims are going to be the big dogs. Very excited. Matt is setting up these gorgeous alloy links. These are the front, the rear, every link in the car is going to be this super strong, super sexy, super light alloy, right down to the pan arm and the steering arm. Very keen. And once we assemble these, that means we're one step closer to having a diff under the car and having it bolted up. So I'm very excited. Hoorah. Well, that brings us to the end of another massive day here at Kinsella's Customs. Now, very exciting. GU Dwiz housing in, the alloy links in, the 3-link bolted up, checked for clearance, everything fits and looks absolutely phenomenal, even at full bump. Now, tomorrow is a new day. It's just gonna be me in here. The camera crew are staying home, so I'm gonna be vlogging everything tomorrow. Hopefully we start on the coilover mounts, coilover towers, the rear diff and the 4-link. We'll see you guys then. Now, we normally wouldn't be doing something like this, but this week's episode was filmed over about 4 weeks. That's right, 4 consecutive weeks of filming, which meant we had terabytes upon terabytes of footage that we couldn't cut down enough into a short enough episode for you guys. The original edit for this entire project was well over an hour long. So what we've done is we've created 2 parts. You just watched part 1, which was mostly focused around the front end of the vehicle. We cut it there, and next week is going to be part 2, where we focus more around the triangulated 4-link rear end, the bump stops, clearancing the guards and flares and that kind of thing. Promise you're not going to get used to this sort of stuff. I do love creating one big episode for you guys, but we wanted to keep it as technical and in depth as possible, whilst also keeping it creative and exciting. So you're going to have to deal with it this week. Anyway, make sure you subscribe. Tune in next week for part 2. It's going to be gangster. 80 series wheelbarrow for sale. Anyone want? This is good because this is what the internet told me to do. Now, there was a choice we had to make when we were designing, exploring and scheming. Was whether we were going to go Bush or Heims. Which is Heims? If Matt wasn't wearing steel caps, he would be a very ouchy boy. Thankfully, I've got my suede steel caps on.